Hey guys, welcome back to Just Winging It. This is a little project that we're gonna get into today that Tabor has done. Hopefully the wind ain't picking up too bad here for you. I'll try and turn out of it. They're gonna try just hook them together. They're gonna try towing this thing up into the shop. This is a little truck that Tabor worked on over the winter, and I'm going to tell you, for a 17-year-old kid in his first attempt, he's done a really good job on this thing. It used to be a red truck. It needed rockers, it needed some work around the fender wells, and it needed a motor. And I'm telling you, I come home and seen it done here, I'm pretty impressed. So this is how it came out. And now we're going to get it in the shop because he had it running and it run good, but it quit. And we've come down to discover it's missing signal to the coil. It has no spark. So we've got kind of what the problem is figured out, or not problem is, but the cause of it. So then now we're going to take it in and we got to go over the schematics and do a whole bunch of checking, and we're going to see if we can't find the problem. I'm leaning towards it's the computer, but we got to test all our other wires out first and make sure what it is. So it's a nice day out today, so they're going to take the time here. We're going to get her dragged in and we're going to go at it, and we'll let you know what we find out. Okay guys, it's been a while since I started this video on this truck of Tabor's, showing you what a nice job he did on it, and for a 17-year-old kid, how it come out. So you last seen us pushing it into the shop, I believe, because it wouldn't run. So we started testing and checking and everything with it, and we couldn't come up with the problem. So is sorry, that's not correct. We came up with a problem. The ASD was being shut down. So we tested the computer, we tested the SD relays, did all the tests that we could come up with, and kind of thought for a bit that it needed a computer. And so we went that route because we have minimal testing. I don't have a scanner that we can put on it. But the computer wasn't too bad. He got a good used computer. I think it was $100. But that wasn't the issue. It still seemed to have, it seemed like it had a short. Because if you unplug the wiring harness that goes to the fuse box, you would have 12 volts on the wire that feeds the injectors and the coil. As soon as you plug that in, it would go from 12 down to 0.86 or something like that. So basically 0. So it seemed like something was shorting it out, and that's kind of what led us thinking it was a computer, because all of our powers and grounds, everything in the computer coming out of it tested okay. It seemed all our sensors seemed okay. Had our 5-volt references everywhere we needed them. So we kind of had the conclusion that the computer was grounding out. So anyways, that wasn't it. We were scratching our heads. We checked the wire and harness all over. I'll turn around here so you can see this. So we checked that main body wire and harness. We took it out. We inspected it and made sure it was good. There was no broken wires or shorted wires. We checked and unplugged every sensor, making sure it wasn't one of them. Anyways, to shorten this story up, we come to the conclusion that after everything else checked out, even though it had a brand new cam sensor, or crank sensor and cam sensor, which is essentially the pickup and the distributor, but seeing it had a brand new crank sensor in it, we were a little leery on right away going to the crank sensor. But after everything else checked out and we couldn't come up with a conclusion of what was killing the ASD, which is the automatic shutdown relay, we now conclusively knew it was not the computer, as far as a problem with the computer. It was the computer shutting down the system, doing what it's supposed to do, automatic shutdown. So anyways, we decided, okay, it's that crank sensor and we need to get another new crank sensor. It seems fairly common, parts are no good these days. So Tabor got under it, got a new crank sensor, got under it, and went to change the crank sensor. And when he pulled out the old crank sensor, we found out what the problem was. And it is the crank sensor. So if you look here, you can see that notch chewed out of the crank sensor. So that's why it originally run. And that was the other thing baffling us. It ran for a bit and then it quit. So this explains it. And what that is from is the bolts that hold on the clutch and pressure plate that go through the flywheel. They were too long and they wore through that crank sensor until you can see that little white spot or gray spot there, and buggered the internals on it. That then in turn shut it down. So because the computer's not getting a signal from the crank, it shuts the ASD down, says no, you're not running. So that was our problem. He managed to get up in there. Luckily, we thought we would have to pull the motor, but he managed to get up in there through the inspection cover with the die grinder and shorten them clutch bolts up, and now it runs. So moral of the story is, I guess, if you're doing a standard in one of these or any vehicle that has a crank sensor on the flywheel, make sure your clutch bolts aren't too long. So the only thing we can figure why they were too long is when they put in the clutch and pressure plate, this and flywheel, this truck came with no motor. They found a motor out of a truck that was an automatic, so they had to purchase a flywheel. So they purchased an aftermarket flywheel and a new clutch and a new pressure plate, and got from Napa got the supposed to be the proper bolts for the clutch and pressure plate. And that was kind of what was making Dennis a little crazy, because he thought he got all the right stuff, and I believe he probably did. I think the problem is the aftermarket flywheel is probably a little bit thinner than the factory OEM flywheel, hence causing the bolts to go through the back, and they never give it a thought. They were only just 2 threads through. That was all it was, but it was enough to take out that crank sensor. So in conclusion, anyways, we're wrapping up this video on this truck. Just wanted to do the update and let you know that we did get it running, and the kid did a really good job on this truck. And you know what? It's going to be for sale. So anybody in Ontario looking for a really nice little Ram, hit me up in the comments and I'll put you in touch with them. Till the next one. That's all.